Hey, real quick, I have tour dates and they're on jaronmyers.com/shows. I would love to see you at a live show. There's actually a lot of TILLN fans who come to my live show, so you can meet other TILLN listeners. And all the information for those are at jaronmyers.com/shows. Sorry you missed the church comedy tour, but there's highlight videos of that. And hopefully we'll see you at one in the future.
Hey, man.
Happy to be here. What's up?
I'm just happy to. What are you freaking?
I'm just excited to be here.
You're gonna give me financial advice? What is that?
That's better than I deserve. Happy to be here is my new thing.
I'm pretty sure
I'm going for.
Okay, well, all right. Hey, Jaron, how you doing today?
I'm happy to be here.
Good. Have you ever heard of? Actually, I'm going to show you a picture. Okay, and you tell me if you can figure out who this guy is. All right. And
show the picture. Stop talking.
Tell me what you think.
No, I'm already mad. No, you already ruined it by talking too much. Gosh, man. Hanging out with you is fun until you speak.
I'm just happy to be here.
Oh, my gosh. Happy to be here.
Immediately unhappy.
Roll the theme song. Don't roll it yet.
Wait.
Give him some time.
Wait. Okay.
Now roll the theme song. I'm mad.
I guess I'm a bigot. Okay.
I don't know why you laughed. I didn't know you.
It's gonna be. I just was like, oh, that's gonna be an out of context quote now.
I guess I'm a bigot. That would be a sound of the Discord. I guess I'm a bigot.
I guess I'm a bigot.
All right. Anyway, this is so far off the rails. Things I learned last night. All right, now that we're back, show me this picture.
Yeah, so you can figure out what this guy does for a living.
Show me a picture, Tim.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah. Are we doing a whole episode about Conan O'Brien?
Yeah,
There's no way.
He just won a major award.
Okay. So this, for those listening, he just pulled up a picture of early 2000s, right?
Yeah, this is, I mean, I would
90s.
say this is mid 2000s, I would say.
I was going to say, yeah.
Judging by the wrinkles in his hands.
Okay.
But I mean, to be fair, if you're going to age someone, looking at the hands, if you were to look just at my hands, how old do you think I am just looking at 96. My hands? Yeah,
and I like that you knew.
I've got old hands.
I like that you knew you were going to do this, so you put lotion on before we started.
I did not put lotion on. This is my raw hands. These are raw hands.
Okay, so he just put a picture of Conan O'Brien up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know who this is?
Oh, I know what we're doing here. Are we talking about what Jay Leno did to Conan O'Brien?
I don't know if we're talking about what Jay Leno did.
We're talking about what Jay Leno did to Conan O'Brien. So this is a fun one because I know the topic and now I don't have to rely on Tim and he's going to lie a lot. So I'm like, actually, no, this is what happened.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but Leno killed Conan O'Brien.
Jay Leno killed Conan O'Brien.
And they replaced him with a lookalike. He killed him in 2006 and they replaced him with a lookalike.
Okay, so what year did this all go down? I don't remember.
Well, we kind of have to, let's do this. Okay.
Did Jay Leno take it from, like, what was the progression? Was Jay Leno right after Carson?
Okay, yeah, we can take it from the top of the story.
That's where I think we should start.
Do you know who this guy is?
Okay, quit doing your bits. Quit doing the bit. Just do the story now. Because we'll do more bits later.
Okay. That's right. Jared doesn't want me to be fun. Sorry. Okay.
So this is a blurry picture of Johnny Carson in front of the Netflix background.
Animation.
Yeah.
The opening
mid-animation, you know what I'm saying? It's because my bits are better, Tim. Do you see how that's mid-animation Netflix logo?
I have a better picture of him here. This is a really high quality.
Yeah. And I like the way that Johnny Carson kisses, you know, where he's looking off to the side to be like.
Yeah. Well, it's because he wasn't supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to kiss her. He wasn't supposed to kiss that lady.
Never mind. What a strange time. Where you could just turn on late night TV and see the host kissing the guest.
Freaking Craig Ferguson, dude.
Craig Ferguson?
Craig Ferguson? Right? The Irish guy?
Yeah.
Who would sexually harass all of his guests?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's like
I didn't watch Craig Ferguson. I didn't think he was funny.
Okay, I was going to say, that's
Did you watch late night TV?
No. But it was on late night.
I watched it
so like
every single night.
If I stayed, so you don't remember Craig Ferguson?
I didn't watch
sexually
Craig Ferguson.
harassing
I didn't watch
every
Craig
guest.
Ferguson. I didn't watch Craig Ferguson. I didn't think it was funny.
Every female guest.
But I'm not exaggerating.
Craig Ferguson is like, well, we
My nightly routine in high school, and this wasn't every night, but at least probably twice, 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
It's kind of like my workout routine.
Sure.
Same cadence.
Yeah.
2 or 3 times
Sporadic
a week.
and more when I feel guilty.
Yeah, I would say I feel guilty tonight. I should
Yeah.
watch Jay Leno. And that's what I would do. I would watch. I mean,
Same way I read the Bible in high school.
It was the late local news.
Trying to push through this.
It was the late local news, and then I would watch Conan, and then I would watch Leno.
Okay.
And then at some point that turned from Leno to Fallon. But I remember doing that.
Well, it didn't turn from
Middle school
Leno
to high school.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So the story starts.
My nighttime routine was I would around probably 8:30, 9 o'clock, I would text a girl that was definitely just a friend and be like, hey, I've got a crush on someone. Like, I talked to you about it? And she'd be like, who? And
She doesn't have a phone number.
And then I would get rejected by 9:02, probably 2 minutes later.
From texting some girl about another girl.
No.
You're texting her about the same girl. You're texting her about her.
Yep.
Oh, I did that.
Where you go, oh, I got a crush on somebody. And then you go, I think you know her.
And then they'd be like, is it me?
Yeah,
and then I'd be like, ew, no.
Ew, no. But if it was. So I would do that every night. And then about 9:15, I would fall to my knees in prayer in my closet. I called it a war room. And I would pray that she would like me back. And then I would also pray. It was 2009.
So
it was 2009. So I would pray that girl would like me back. And then I would also pray that the United States would catch Osama bin Laden. And then I would pray. I would pray that K-Love met their pledge goal so they could go back to not having those ads during the thing. And then I would turn the radio on and I would fall asleep to the sounds of Christian radio.
Wow.
The Christian radio part's true.
My nightly routine was I would walk in the kitchen, I'd pour myself a bowl of ice, and I'd dunk my face in it as a 12-year-old.
And then I would have some girl who's not on camera just reach in and take the ice away, clean up after me.
Clean it all up. Yeah.
But I was ripped.
Yeah.
That. I was freaking. You can make fun of me all you want. I had abs.
I was so yoked. Did I tell you about my ab workouts in high school?
I know we got people who are going to be. Here's more true. I would wait for my parents to go to sleep, and then I would sneak down to the kitchen and eat a bowl of Fruit Loops, probably 2, and then go to bed and be like, why can't I fall asleep?
Why can't I fall asleep?
Yeah, I was a fat kid in high school.
Okay, so around that same time, something else was going on elsewhere in the world.
I know, I was praying about it. I would pray that the United States would catch Osama bin Laden. I would pray that K-Love pledge drive would end.
Yeah.
And then I would pray that Conan would take over the Jay Leno spot of the Tonight Show. And then later, Jay Leno would come back and take it from his cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
After killing him in cold blood and replacing him with a replica.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I want to start this from the beginning of the story. I think it's a better place. I was going to start it. Yeah, I'll start here. Okay, so 1991, Johnny Carson's hosting The Tonight Show. He had hosted The Tonight Show
a long time.
For basically ever.
Yeah.
He took over in, hold on, let me get the exact date, 62.
Yeah.
But,
so 30 years.
Yeah, a long run on the show. And when he left the show, it was one of those things where...
How long has Fallon had it? Fallon's had it for a minute.
I think 2011. Yeah, so he's had a run. For sure.
He's had a pretty good, decent run.
Yeah. Carson, whenever he was coming into his like exit, It's an interesting thing what the Tonight Show is, because there's not a lot of franchises that hinge so much on one person. Like, you have to nail that host.
Okay.
And if you don't have a host that works, then it doesn't work, you know? On that,
Sure.
in that format, just like a podcast.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good host,
Right.
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which is why this one works so well. I see. Don't reach. Don't. I see you reaching. Don't reach for that. Don't reach for that. I don't. Okay. So Carson's coming up to his retirement.
Right.
And there is the big question, who's going to replace him? And for the Tonight Show, there's a lot of other like late shows and things or a couple other late shows, I should say, out there. Not a lot. And so the expectation is that whoever's going to take over as the host of the Tonight Show, that's the big one. That's the big dog in the industry. It's going to be someone with some experience, someone that everyone really likes. The most obvious person in line was... See if you know who this guy is.
Jay Leno.
Oh, no. David Letterman. I gave you a picture with both of them.
Oh, nice. Good throw off. I like that. There's David Letterman. That's right.
Here they are eating Five Guys on set. But
Five Guys?
Five Guys? They're eating 5 men.
So, yeah, okay. Which show did Letterman host at that point?
Letterman.
Yeah.
He had the Late Show.
Okay, what was the structure?
It was the Late Show with David Letterman. What do you mean, what was the structure?
Of late night TV.
In this era,
the structure?
In this era, I'm pretty confident that it was just NBC that was doing this.
Yes.
And it was the Tonight Show. The Tonight Show was on the earlier block.
Yep.
And then there was the Late Show that was like midnight. So I think the Tonight Show was like, I don't know exactly the time. I don't remember, like 10 p.m. And then I guess it depended where you were on the coast. Right. Yeah. And then the Late Show was midnight or 11. Depending on where you're at.
So, and the whole reason SNL started was because they were rerunning on the weekends. They would rerun just Carson episodes.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And then Carson was like, the network was like, hey, we got to figure out something else for Saturday night.
Interesting.
So they came up with the Saturday Night Live format.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that would be whatever that time slot is. So yeah, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever.
Yeah.
I want to say it's 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, and then the Late Show. And then that's what I'm saying. When did they add like the Late Show with James Corden, you know?
I think it was.
And when did Conan's block? Conan was on TBS.
Well, it was this early 2000s there. Honestly, I think it was this story we're going to tell that led
because
to all
this
that.
Early 2000s, there was Letterman, Jay Leno, Conan, Craig Ferguson,
Kimmel.
Yeah.
There's
a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot. There's more than that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
And those are just the white men we can think of. Late night hosts are predominantly white men. It's actually something that they've been working on. They were trying to change it. And then they actually gave Taylor Tomlinson her own show, but then they made it a weird
took it away.
show.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they were like, all right, well, she don't want to do it anymore.
They focused.
But they made it. Colbert was on, but he was on the daily thing. He was on.
Yeah.
But anyway, they made it seem like it was going to be like a late night show, and then it wasn't.
I think it was going to be a late night show.
It was going to be, and then it turned into a game show for comedians. So anyway,
yeah. I think it's interesting. Like the format, TV just. Anyways, we can talk about that. So
the reason
later.
the late night format still works, like Fallon, is that when Fallon has Harry Styles on, Harry Styles fans watch the interview.
Yes. Yeah.
When Fallon had, and I was actually thinking about this because it's like, so you make a movie, and then you do the circuit of interviews. You do the circuit of interviews, and then that is also like an adjacent level of content that permanently exists for that movie. So like I saw a Paul Rudd interview.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about My Idiot Brother, whatever that movie was, you know? And it's like, oh, years later, I'm now seeing what was technically an advertisement for My Idiot Brother.
100%. Yeah.
You know?
That's what the whole show is.
So that's what the whole show is QVC for people.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you want to buy this
That's
actor?
really
He's
interesting,
on this weekend, you know?
That's
$19 tickets. That's expensive because it's the 70s. That's unheard of, actually. But $19 tickets, you know? One day that's going to be the cheap seats. And so anyway.
No, I think, but I do think like it's changed because back then it was so, your guest knew exactly what was going to be asked. It was a script. It was a scripted
I mean, also back then there were
conversation.
4 channels. So it wasn't like there was a lot of options. Well, in the 2000s,
True.
But I'm saying that like, yeah, there were, the reason that the show worked was that it had, because now, like, I'm even thinking for my stand-up stuff. Obviously, I would love to be on the Tonight Show. I would love to be on Kimmel. I would love to, please have me on the spots. Let me do the stand-up. Let me do the stuff, right?
Yeah.
It won't have the impact on my career that it would have had in the 90s or 2000s.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And so, which is like, fine, that's how this works.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how that started. The Tonight Show used to be the Rogan interview.
True.
Now, you get the Rogan interview, skyrocket.
That's true. That's very accurate, yeah. And I think, anyways, yeah. So Carson is retiring.
Yep.
They're trying to figure out who they're going to do. Everyone in the world thinks it's going to be Letterman because he's had the Late Show block for years.
Yeah.
And he's followed it for 10 years. He's been right after Carson.
Yeah.
So everyone just expected Letterman to be the guy. Meanwhile, Leno has been a long-running guest on Carson. He's, at the time, just a stand-up. And so he's been traveling the country doing stand-up. Which, have you ever seen stand-up of Leno?
Yeah.
You're a stand-up, so I would assume
I've seen
you've
it.
seen it.
Is
it good?
Reference? Yeah.
I've only seen like his show. So I've seen his monologue. His monologues are good, but I don't know how he was.
So is that in a comedy club?
Oh, great.
I mean, like, it's less like I can't think of a single bit right now, obviously. Of course. But I've seen it. It's not like, I mean, it's like the same way when you watch like 90s Seinfeld stand up.
Yeah.
It's like, it was great for that time.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily funny to us because we're here in this time.
Yeah.
But it was killed. It killed then.
Yeah. Okay. So he was a long running.
He still does. He does a lot of weekly spots at the Comedy and Magic Club in LA.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've been trying to get in over there.
Does he do magic?
No.
How funny would it be for Jay Leno to walk out and not do a second of comedy, just do magic tricks?
And he's got that weird, like,
so badly.
that weird cult that he runs. He runs a weird cult. I don't know if
Does he really?
Yeah, and it's like this whole like thing. Oh, that's Jared Leto.
Oh. So, but Leno's was a long running guest. He was constantly closing with the comedy, and he was also guest as an actual guest on the show. Carson loved him, and the relationship had grown with Leno, and not specifically Carson, but the producers, where he was consistently a stand-in for Carson if Carson wasn't available.
Okay,
and that makes sense because Letterman had another show, and so Letterman wouldn't be the stand-in. But what Leno did in this early era that I think a lot of people don't think about when they think about like pursuing opportunity. Obviously, he's talented. Yeah. Obviously, he like honed his craft and was like good at what he did.
Sure.
But I don't know a nice way to say this. Maybe here's a good way to say this. He did some recon on the people at NBC. And he would just be around them and became their friends.
Yeah.
And he did the work he needed to do to be like the best person every time he came in.
Yeah.
And so people loved having him around. He was easy to work with. People liked him. He made a lot of friends. Letterman, on the other hand, was kind of a diva. And a lot of people didn't like working with him.
Yeah. He doesn't have the personality for like, hey, buddy.
Yeah. And he like, I don't want to say he got too big for his britches because I think he is really good at what he did too. But he got a little cocky. Like he got kind of full of himself, kind of expected he was the one who was supposed to have that role. And he would deal with NBC like he was like a gift to NBC. Like he was NBC's
like
number one asset.
The cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NBC was like, we don't really want to deal with you. Like we don't want to deal with that. And so when the opportunity came to replace Carson, it was a bit of a scandal because everyone expected it to be Letterman, but the network with Leno, who was kind of sort of an outsider.
Yeah.
And this was an interesting thing because Leno takes it, and it was an interesting thing where Letterman was super nice. There was a lot of publicity. A lot of people were saying that was the wrong choice. They shouldn't have gone with him. A lot of people were acting like Letterman deserved it.
Yeah.
Letterman was like, I mean, what are you going to do? But Letterman was super professional about it.
Letterman still had his show.
Well, in the wake of it, Letterman ended up leaving the network and going to CBS and getting his own show on CBS.
Gotcha.
And the network did threaten to say, hey, if your show looks anything like our show, your show here, we're going to sue you.
Yeah. If you guys even use the same mayonnaise. Tell your story.
Have I never told that here?
I don't know.
Has he told
the
whoa, you can't say their name. Bleep it out. I used to work at a sandwich shop called
yeah.
I used to work at a sandwich shop called every time I say the name, bleep it. That's really funny.
No, it's not.
That's really
not very funny. Don't bleep it.
I used to work at a sandwich shop called Pickle Mints.
Now bleep it.
Bleep other words. Don't bleep the name of the restaurant. Just bleep random words.
Don't do that. Tim, just tell the story.
So I used to work at a sandwich shop called Pickle Mints. And that sandwich shop was...
Do you guys understand how difficult this is to exist?
Tell the story.
I used to work at a sandwich shop called Pickle Mints. Okay, tell your story. I used to work at a pickle shop. Like, just freaking... I used to work at a pickle shop called Sandwichman's. Freaking tell the story, buddy.
All right, so I used to work at a pickle shop.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't gotta do that. You've said that 7 times. It was across the street from a Jimmy John's.
No. It wasn't. I mean, it was, but that wasn't the store. That's
know.
That's not an important detail.
I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you put this together.
It was also across the street from a tattoo parlor. It was also next door to a Philly cheesesteak place. You're telling unnecessary details. So, okay, I used to work at a sandwich shop called Pickle Mints. Bleep it out. We can't let anyone know what the name. Okay, so at this sandwich shop was owned by one of the founders of Jimmy John's. Him and Jimmy, they started the sandwich. Pickle and Jimmy started the sandwich shop Jimmy John's together. And they had a falling out because Pickle wanted hot subs. Jimmy wanted only cold subs. So there's a big disagreement. They ended up having a falling out. Pickle went his own way and started Pickleman's. Jimmy John's obviously was a lot more successful. Pickleman's is growing. Pickleman's is doing decent now. But there was a lawsuit.
Is better.
Pickleman's is better. But there was a big lawsuit as a part of that exit. And as a part of that exit, there's a lot of stuff that Pickleman's is not allowed to use. And so they actually legally are not allowed to use the same mayonnaise source as Jimmy John's. It has to be different. And so, I don't know. Don't get in fights with your friends.
All that you're not say Pickleman's can't use the same mayonnaise as Jimmy John's. And I agree. That wasn't worth it.
I used to work at a sandwich.
You sound like Bert Kreischer at the beginning of his Russia story. Where you're like, when I was 22, I worked at a sandwich shop called Pickleman's. Here's just the story.
Can we make a shirt that says I used to work at a sandwich shop called Pickleman's?
No.
Yeah, we probably can't.
You can make a shirt that says I used to work at a sandwich shop called star. That's pretty funny.
Okay.
All right. You design it. I'm mad. So anyway, Letterman goes to CBS as part of because he didn't get the thing. That was the whole thing. He left.
Yeah, so he went to CBS, got his own show.
He was like, all right, you're not going to get a late night.
Yeah, and so as a part of that, NBC was like, okay, well,
who took over the Late Show?
That's exactly what happened. The NBC was like, well, we got to find someone to replace Letterman now, and so we got Leno. We got to replace Letterman. Letterman went on at the same block as Leno, and this was actually a big ordeal because there was 2 whole years where Leno couldn't keep up with Letterman. Letterman was crushing him in the ratings, having him on a separate channel at the same block.
Interesting.
What actually ended up propelling Leno, you know what made Leno successful?
When he killed that person on live TV.
He said, you guys are not going to believe what I'm going to do tonight.
Hey, welcome to the Tonight Show. I'm Jay Leno. He does that weird lisp. And tonight we're going to kill somebody. Tonight I'm going to kill somebody with my chin. And he's
honestly,
what propelled Jay
not
Leno?
far off. It was August 1995. There was a star, Hugh Grant, and I'm sure you know him. He had recently been arrested for soliciting a sex worker. And he was like, hey, that's the perfect person to have on.
Why?
No one wanted to have him on the show.
Why do celebrities get to do stuff and then we just forget that stuff happened? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, no one forgot at the time.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like...
Yeah. And so no one would touch him with a 10-foot pole after this. Like everyone,
but
like
Leno was like...
he was blacklisted. He was canceled before cancellation.
Leno in one of his 17 billion cars that Leno has, pulls up next to Hugh Grant on the sidewalk, rolls the window down and goes, hey, why don't you come on the Tonight Show? He's like, what? He's like, yeah, you don't like it, do you? You don't like when I talk to you through my car window and be like, hey, why don't you get in the car, you know?
Yeah.
Come on to the Tonight Show. And Hugh Grant was like, well, all right then.
Yeah.
He's British.
Yeah.
What movie was Hugh Grant in at the time?
Oh gosh, I have no idea what his filmography was.
Because him as the Oompa Loompa hadn't come out yet. Did you see
Four Weddings and a Funeral was probably the most recent.
4 Weddings and a Funeral?
Yeah, that was probably the most recent film he had at the time.
So, you know about the controversy with him being an Oompa Loompa, right?
No.
He was the Oompa Loompa in this Timothy Chalamet Wonka thing.
Okay.
And anyway. The little people community was really, really mad about that.
Oh, that they made him one?
They were like either do full CGI.
Yeah.
Do a fully CGI little person.
Yeah.
Or cast a little person.
Interesting.
Don't do this weird hybrid of Hugh Grant as a little person. They were really mad about that.
Interesting. I never would have thought about that.
Okay.
I guess I'm a bigot. Okay.
I don't know why you laughed. I didn't argue.
Yeah, it's that's gonna be. I just was like, oh, that's gonna be an out of context quote now.
I guess I'm a bigot. That would be a sound in the Discord. I guess I'm a bigot.
I guess I'm a bigot.
All right. Anyway.
So Hugh Grant comes on the show. He welcomes him onto the show.
Yeah.
He does that little walk up. He's met with a mixture of mostly boos and then some people who are like, yeah, I like that guy.
Booze.
Yeah, people are not hyped. He's got canceled. He got like 90s canceled.
Heck yeah.
And so he sits down.
Well, this is 95.
Yeah, 95
so this
canceled.
is... No, never mind. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So it was a mixed response when he comes onto the stage. He sits down. First thing Leno says is, "What were you thinking?" And the crowd lost their mind. They like applause and like all that moment like crystallized Leno. And it was all over the news. Like everyone was replaying that little snippet. And then everyone was watching Leno from that point on. Like that was the moment he overtook Letterman and he stayed ahead of him from that point
So we just need to get somebody who's been canceled.
Yeah. And then just make fun of them.
Use their mishaps and terrible dark shadow of a season to go, you idiot.
You're so dumb.
Wow. Hey, what were you thinking? Huh? What were you thinking?
Was I thinking?
Join us on Patreon. In the early days of this show, we did like affiliate ads where we were like, hey, sign up for Grammarly and use code TILLN and we got like 15 cents. And now we just do Patreon. It's a much better way. It's better for us as creators. It's better for you as listeners. And it's a much more fun way for us to interact. We do monthly hangouts like on Zoom. We just hang out and play games online and get to know each other. It's a really fun time. So, but still use our code TILLN at Grammarly.com because I think it's still active.
It is still
we might
active.
get like a couple cents from that.
Yeah.
But join us on Patreon because we're having a great time.
Yeah. If you don't, we're going to have to start doing mobile game ads. So that pushes Leno ahead.
Okay.
Letterman is doing his show on the other side, but now there's this open spot for the Late Show, and there's been the open slot because they can't find someone to take that spot.
They've been showing Blue's Clues reruns.
And so they have been like,
here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
I am shocked that you can recall that whole thing.
Why?
Just from
it was
like
implanted in my brain
memory?
in a really formative season of my life.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
I
You started doing it and I could see it and I was like, like you pulled me
Yeah.
out of my consciousness for a second there.
So
when
there's
you
a
did
reason that we
but,
do
like,
hymns. There's a reason that songs stick with you.
Yeah, but
through
here's the
your
thing.
whole- okay.
It's the way you recalled it. Like once I heard it, I was like, oh, I know that.
Right.
But the way you just like
Yeah.
that blew me away.
Why does that blow you away? That's how our brains work.
Well, what blew me away is that you still like you could, because if I heard that somewhere like I did just now, I remember.
Yeah.
But I couldn't just sit here and be like, oh, Blue's Clues, here's the male song.
Do the backpack song from Dora.
Well, that's a little different because I was a little older when Dora was around.
Okay.
Blue's Clues, I was an infant.
Can you sing the Rugrats theme song?
There's not a song. Oh, well, it's. Yeah,
Yeah, you just pulled that out.
Yeah, but I was older then.
Okay.
That was before my frontal lobe developed. I didn't watch Rugrats until I was 25.
Okay.
So they were looking for someone to take this spot. They had been auditioning a lot of people. They've been auditioning.
That's a really funny bit. No, here's the thing: is I'll make a joke. The problem with this podcast, the reason this show is bad, is that I make a joke that should just be a joke, and then you go, "What if we spend 5 minutes on that?" And I'm like, "Now the joke's not funny anymore, dude. Now it just seems like it seems like I'm not letting you tell the story."
But really, it's me.
But really, it's you just sideline. I used to work at a sandwich shop called. Golly, dude.
They'd been auditioning people, looking for people to fill the role.
Like American
of the Late
Idol
Show.
style.
Yeah, and they were also like,
You walk into a room, there's Letterman, Leno,
yeah,
Carson,
and
Fat Kimmel. He used to be fat. I don't know if you
Kimmel.
remember.
Yeah, I do remember Fat Kimmel.
Fat Kimmel sitting there and you know.
I don't know, dog.
I don't. Yeah, he's the Randy.
I don't know, dog.
I don't know, dog. I just don't know if it's for you. You know. That's crazy.
And so, and they were offering this to a lot of people. They offered Dana Carvey. He turned it down. They offered,
Really?
yeah, they offered a lot of like pretty big name
SNL
comedians,
people.
yeah, SNL people's actors, actresses. This is what was really interesting. I was looking at the list. Like a lot of people made a big deal. You just brought up.
We need a female host.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people who got the offer in the. This was 93, 90, 92, 93.
Joan Rivers
they
had a
turned it down.
show.
That's true.
Yeah, we forgot about Joan.
Interesting.
Oprah had a show.
We forgot about Oprah.
They could have put Judge Judy on at 10 o'clock. That would have crushed.
Freaking late night Judge Judy.
Crushed.
Holy cow, what an idea.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Bleep that.
Yeah, believe that idea. Patent pending.
We got to pitch to somebody.
We got to pitch that.
It's late night, so she's got a live band in the jury box. And we do like that. She's the host, like, ladies and gentlemen, Judge Judith. Because we can't use the name.
you can't do the
It's a
name.
whole
It's
thing.
branded.
So Judith comes out, which...
And the plaintiff, the plaintiff is her hype man, and he's like, all rise.
All rise. And the band is like,
now, Judy.
and the band's like, bow, bow, down.
Oh, so
She
good.
comes out and she just like, she's like, so today in court.
She's in the gown.
Yeah. She's like, did you guys see what he tweeted today? You know, like the whole thing. She does like the
Every guest gets taken away
Yeah.
in cuffs.
Well, I mean, and honestly, it worked because like you got the people in the you know plaintiff and the other person, whatever they're called. I don't know. I don't get in trouble with the law.
I don't know. I don't get in trouble.
And she's like, "What were you thinking?"
What were you thinking?
That's her catchphrase.
Skyrockets.
Yeah.
Skyrockets her to fame. Yeah, she's not famous yet.
Late night Judge Judy could rip.
That
actually.
could crush. That could genuinely
So
crush.
who do they offer it to?
They offered it to a bunch of people, and they couldn't get anyone.
No, any
in.
women? Do you have any names, or you just have like they offered it? Does it say they offered it to Dana Carvey, Will Ferrell, Chevy Chase, all this
And a
stuff,
bunch of
and
women.
some women.
And
Is that
some
what it
women.
says?
No, I don't have the list in front of me. I know this from a podcast where they
okay.
listed a bunch of people. I don't remember who all.
You
The
don't-
only
you don't
the
remember
only name I
anyone.
can remember is Dana Carvey.
Okay.
But anyways, so they're looking for people, and meanwhile, Lorne Michaels at SNL is like, you guys have to use one of my writers, and everyone's
Okay.
like, I don't know, we like just a writer, and he's like, use my writer, and he's like, they're like, okay, give him a call, and so they call him. It was Conan O'Brien,
Right.
and they made an offer, and Conan said, no. I'm not interested, which is so interesting. It's so interesting to me how many people shot this opportunity down.
Well, I mean, think about what it is, though. I mean, it's the same thing of like, if someone offered it to me right now,
Yeah.
I would take it. But but I was talking to another friend about this. You're committing to 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
You're committing to 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Or it was just during the day. You're committing to a day job.
Yeah. It's
And a
what it is.
lot of these people have bigger dreams.
Yeah, it's
than-
true.
They want to be in movies. They want
It's
to,
true.
they want to tour doing stand up. Conan probably wanted to be an SNL cast member.
But
you know?
what's the risk of it though? Like, because don't you, especially in this era, like if you could land the host gig for 5-10 years,
Yeah.
after that,
It's a momentum game, though.
for sure. That's true.
you
That is
know?
true. That is true. Yeah, and I guess there
And-
had been a framework of people.
I mean, but think about like
doing the show and
That's
leaving.
why
It was a
Tomlinson
career show at
Ended
the
up
time.
quitting after midnight.
Yeah.
Was that she was like, well, I mean, like this is making it so much harder to tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Interesting. So they
so there is some trade offs.
yeah.
Some people do want the structure and because I mean, honestly, it's dream job. Go for it.
Yeah.
Like some people want that,
Yeah.
but it's like, I mean, look up how much Fallon makes a year, and it's one of those things where it's like, forget my dreams.
Forget my dreams.
Yeah.
This is this pulled up an average Fallon healthcare salary
Oh,
because I just put Fallon salary.
like 36,000.
Yeah, I literally saw that. I was like, excuse me? I was like,
way.
why is he doing this? Yeah, he makes $16 million a year.
And it's like, I could probably figure it out.
I could probably be fine with this. And it's also, you're right. Like they film these at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Like,
But the other side of it too is that late night is topical and what changes, but it's the thing that we talked about. Have we talked about this before on the podcast? About the social media pushes in this space where creatives, because we have to post every day, right? We have to post every day.
yeah.
It limits to the number of topics that we can talk about. Because I can't riff on everything all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of your favorite creators ended up in pipelines that are either sports and fitness, because sports changes every day, or politics, because politics changes every day. And those are current events that people can talk about nonstop and do those things. And that's why the majority of creators that you see on social media, that's the stuff they're talking about, is because there's updates or changes. And people, the faith community stuff, like that, you can just make endless content out of these things.
You need something you can farm content with.
Right.
I mean, that's why, and you heard it all the time in the late night era, was like, people would be like, oh, they're just so political. Like, they
And
don't
I think that might be one of the issues too, of like, if I take on a late night host job, then I have to talk about topical things. And then after I'm done, my stand-up isn't going to be, look what, like, Trevor Noah's out doing stand-up, and it's very political.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Because that's now
That's
what he
the
knows.
brand.
And that's, I guess the brand. Yeah, that's true. And then you have bits too. Leno had like a lot of what we probably now would call reaction content. Like he had his headlines bit.
Yeah.
Like they would do bits that were very low hanging fruit because you just needed
Yeah, you
content.
try to get as much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so if you're like a purist about your form, then maybe you're like, I would rather
Which a
spend
lot
more
of
time working
comedy
on stuff
writers are.
and release less.
I think Conan probably wanted to write movies.
Yeah.
And like that, so I think it's for sure I could see how, because I'm thinking of a couple of the writers on the SNL team right now that if they went to and they were like, hey, we want you to be a late night host. Obviously right now it's different because late night is dying.
Yeah.
It's like being like, hey, you want to do a radio show?
Yeah.
And you're like, I think they just call them podcasts now. But So
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that does make a lot of sense because Conan, actually, I watched some interviews of him talking about this whole event that we haven't even got to yet, but talking about this whole event. And a phrase he used so often was my body of work. And so just the fact that he uses that phrase, I think you're onto something there. That's really interesting.
Right.
Anyways, so he turns it down. 3 months later, they keep working and they call him back again. And they're like, hey, we really want you to come try this. And he's like, okay, I'll come to an audition.
Yeah.
And so they hold an audition. They do a fake show. And so there's actually footage of this online. You can see him interviewing someone for a fake late night show. And honestly, it's exactly what his show is.
Yeah.
Like it was so natural that the first time he had ever done it, like it felt like every other time he's ever done it since then. And then afterwards, like it's very endearing Conan footage because afterwards they had him do, I don't know if they had him do this or if he just did it, but he's doing almost like a monologue. And at the end of it, he's standing up like back in the front of the set. And he says, well, that's my show. He says, this was a lot of fun. If that's the only time I ever get to do this, I'm glad I got to do it. But thanks for considering me. Like it was just super like genuine and classic, like honestly classic Conan, like very kind. And the network was like, oh yeah, this is our guy.
Okay.
And so, one of the main reasons they wanted him was obviously like he was kind of out of left field. Like he was an unknown person. He was a writer though for Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons. And with his style of humor, they thought that they could capture what was at the time, and maybe still is, honestly, still is for sure. You're going to hate it even more when I tell you what this is. I know you hated what I just did a lot, but when I tell you what the thing is, you're going to hate it even more. The networks, they really, really coveted the young male audience. And and I did this like I'm a young male.
Man
like I'm a young male.
Still is.
Still is. It's still the best audience.
Hey, by the time this comes out, you're a dad, and I just know that your kid is going to see your body of work one day. And I'm going to tell you right now, that body is out of shape.
I'm just real proud of my body of work.
So, okay, so they thought he could appeal to a young male audience.
Yeah, they thought, oh, he's their sense of humor.
Okay.
Letterman's too old. Leno is too gray.
Yeah, true.
His chin's too big for the young boys.
Yeah.
Your chin's too
Don't say it like that. Okay.
And so they put him on, but it did not go well. For like 2 years.
Like, we hate this redhead guy.
That's pretty accurate. The reviews were he seems awkward and uncomfortable, and he had a lot of like twitches and quirks and stuff like that. And he used to get interviewed a lot about it, and they're like, you seem uncomfortable up there, and he's like, well, it's because I am. And someone asked him,
I hate this actually.
Someone asked him, they're like, why don't you cut it out? Like, why don't you have your team cut out your quirks and stuff, or like just tell him not to get that on camera. And like, because none of this is live. Like the Late Show, they act like it's live, but none of it's live. And so it's like, you can cut all this stuff on the cutting room floor. And he would reply and be like, well, that's not real. He's like, I don't want to put out like a manicured fake version of myself.
Could
like,
you actually cut him tripping over the word manicured?
I want to put like a real version of me forward. So dumb. And so, but people had
manicured. Just dub me over it, I guess.
And he says manicured when I scream. He's like, I don't want to put out like a manicured fake version of myself.
I can fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, in that era, everything was so polished, so produced.
Right.
It was like so overproduced.
Sure.
And he was kind of rebelling against that. And he was like, I don't think we need to do that. He's like, I don't think anyone wants us to be perfect. And so,
okay.
But people did. People really didn't like his show because of how imperfect he was.
But that's a very 2023 mindset in the year 2000.
This is 93.
Yeah, dude. People demanded a lot.
People expected a lot. Before Y2K, everyone's brains were different.
Yeah.
Y2K changed people. It was that
People
event.
want a perfect, happy relationship like Bill and Hillary had. And they don't want to settle for anything less.
They don't want anything else. They don't want anything else. And so Conan's show's not going great. He has 2 rough years, he has 1 really rough year, and he was very close to getting canceled at the end of 94. Okay. They put him on a 3-month contract, and they said, we're going to see how these 3 months go. They were wanting to replace him with Greg Kinnear. I don't know if you know who that is. Do you know him?
No.
I recognize his face. I've seen him in some stuff, but I don't really know. He's known for, I'll show you. I'll just show you a picture of him.
Sure.
Why not? Here is Greg Kinnear. What's he from?
Yeah.
I feel like he's like the kind dad in a lot of movies, you know? Like he's like, that's
an interesting choice that they'd want to, okay.
Yeah. I think
something else I've noticed about the 90s, if you look at celebrities back in the 90s, like, look at their teeth and how every celebrity now has veneers or fake teeth.
Yeah.
Like if you look at any celebrity in the 90s, their teeth are white because whitening existed, but none of them,
they're not straight. They're not like that line.
Psycho, dude.
It's so absurd.
He's like, what's wrong with you?
You know, what'd be really funny is if we get veneers for the next episode.
Veneers? I'm finna get some veneers. What do you think? That was really poor of you to call them veneers.
I call them veneers. I just had a little too much upper lip in it. There's really just poor. A little too much upper lip in that sentence. Did you watch that video? That was the craziest thing. You look like one of a freaking sucker fish, you bottom feeder.
Because I'm listening back on audio later, this is when I just put my whole mouth over the Celsius and just try to suck it straight up.
Did you get any out of there?
The tiniest bit. Not like enough that you have like half a flavor, you know?
Yeah. Gosh, that was so dumb. Did you watch that Grant Cardone video I sent you last night?
No. Grant Cardone. Honestly, I don't know if it's obvious. We hate this guy.
Honestly, I was impressed. I think I told you. I think
I told you impressed.
I think I told you I was like, I'm shocked he posted this, and I was like, I mean, I'm sure it was his team, and he didn't really have anything to do with it, but I'm still shocked they put it out because it was him.
Grant Cardone.
Grant Cardone. He put out a video. He was like on stage at some event with Kevin Hart, and Cardone saying his usual stuff about how.
If you're poor, it's your fault. And all you gotta do is try harder. And
exactly. He was like, well, but the problem is, he says, poor people see scams everywhere, but the wealthy, they see opportunity.
Yeah.
And Kevin Hart just freaking crushed him and was like, no, it's because the poor people are getting scammed everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's because the wealthy people, like what you just said, are taking advantage of poor people. And Grant Cardone posted it. I was like, wow, I'm really shocked to see Cardone post this, where honestly Kevin Hart like really read
him for filth. Yeah.
And I was like shocked, but it was honestly one of the things that was really interesting though in the comments. There's a lot of people in the comments mad about their teeth. Now there's a lot of people in the comments who I've never heard anybody say this before, but they were mad because they're like, these two rich people are too comfortable calling other people poor. I was like, interesting. That's a poor person thing to say.
That's a poor sack of crap thing to think. Oh, those rich people are really uncomfortable. Yeah, they earned the right to say it. You know, we've worked hard, so maybe just shut up. No one cares. You know, you see that whole movement of people, no one cares, work harder. Every dude who has a pickup truck and works a manual labor job has that in his Facebook bio. No one cares, work harder. You wake up at 3 a.m., dude. And you go to bed at 2, drunk. And so, no, we can say poor people because we used to be them.
We can say poor people because every weekend we're one of them.
We are.
Until our next payday. Because we're bad at managing our money.
We're bad at money. No,
anyways.
We could say because we're like, when it also, again, I think I've said this too. there's a difference between like if you, I don't even want to set a number to it, I guess. Like
if you can regularly fly in a private jet.
Hey, you're rich,
yeah.
right? You're rich, whatever.
Yeah.
The rest of us, when I say poor, that window's pretty big. I'm not talking about like there is a level of poverty that is pretty disgusting, and we need to get rid of those people. I'm saying there's a level of poverty that needs to be addressed. It's a societal problem. It's actually, and there's people below the poverty line. There's so many more people in this country than there should be, right?
Yeah.
But also when I say poor, I'm also talking
so many more people in the poverty line in this country.
Yes.
Is that like you said, there's too many people in America?
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. No, there's too many people under the poverty line in the current system, like the wealthiest country in the world in history.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the word poor also includes so many, because I don't think people realize the difference between let's even go like a doctor who makes like, not even like a long-term, like a 30-year-old doctor guy, a guy that's like several years in makes $240,000 a year.
Yeah.
Poor compared to what some of these psychos out here are doing.
Yeah. There are people who are making an absurd amount of money.
So when we say poor, we mean that doctor
all
as
of us.
well.
We mean
all of us are poor. So we can say that.
Yeah.
But I would never talk about somebody in an actual desolate poverty situation and be like, that's a poor person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what people are critiquing in the comments.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, that's crappy for Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
To stand on a stage and be like, those people are just lazy.
Yeah. And I mean, that's his brand too. That's his brand too.
But
it's
stupid.
Sucks. It sucks that he acts like that. Anyways, it also sucks.
Doesn't matter how true it is.
It also sucks that he got there from scamming those people.
Yeah. I just said yes. I mean, no one who's making $50,000 a month is sitting down in their kitchen and be like, I make $50,000 a month on TikTok, and here's how you can do it.
Here's how you can do it.
Nobody who makes it. Unless the way they make that money is by making that video.
Which is taking advantage of you.
Which is scamming you.
Scams. Okay, so.
You know how I make my money?
He doesn't know either.
Leave it in the comments. I'd love some ideas. You know how I make my money? My wife has a pretty good job, and she Twitch streams. That brings in a couple bucks a month.
A couple.
And
this show brings in a couple bucks.
I just spend all of that.
I just spend all of my wife's couple of bucks a month.
No, my wife has been doing this thing though, because we have our bills account, and then we have like fun money, right?
Okay.
And so we each have our own checking account. How do you guys do your finances? You guys have your own your personal checkings?
We did this thing where the second we got married, we set up joint accounts, and then we never actually combined like our actual like direct deposits and everything. So we have a joint account.
Okay.
But we also have our own accounts that we are living in.
Okay.
Which is weird. And it's this thing where it's like, we want to have everything in a joint account. We just have never pulled the trigger on it. We've been talking that when
you guys waiting for it to get a little more serious?
Well, actually, kind of. We've been talking when the baby comes, when we have a little bit.
Which is, by the time you hear this, happen.
Yeah, when the baby comes, we're going to.
I'm praying, just so you know, we're like, right now, we're like 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
It's 3 weeks from today, right? Not to freak you out.
Yeah, 20 days, right? 20 days today.
3 weeks from yesterday. Day. I'm praying that during this shoot, it happens, just so y'all know. Not this shoot. We need to get a couple more episodes done today. But like, if it happened today while I'm here, big fan of that.
That stresses me out.
I last night I got on my knees in my hotel and I prayed and I said, "Thank you for catching Osama bin Laden," and also
still saying thank you.
Every night I say thank you for catching Osama bin Laden. God did that, and then I go. Please make Bree have her kid tomorrow.
Okay. But we've been saying we're going to put it together, and then we'll have separate checking accounts.
We have a joint account that all of our direct deposit go into. And then we also have a bills account. That's all of our bills go out. So all the money comes in the direct deposit account. Then it gets moved to the bills account where all the bills get paid. And then we have like a spend account. That's where we do our groceries and gas and all that stuff. Yes. And then we have personal accounts where we each get like $50 a week. It goes into our, and then I don't have access to her personal account. She doesn't have access to my personal account. That's how we can buy gifts for each other.
That's exactly what we've always said we want to do.
Yeah, I do sketchy stuff like I buy drugs and all that stuff, you know. I don't. Yeah. I don't. This is an evergreen podcast. And like I love that we make bad jokes. No, I'm saying that, you know, so we have our money that goes to our personal accounts each week, right? She's been doing
she opened up a third account.
Well, no, she's been doing tutoring after class.
Yeah.
After school. And she charges a decent amount for tutoring, and these because she teaches at a pretty fancy rich school. These parents just pay it.
It's cash under the table money.
So all of a sudden, her personal account, she's making a whole extra paycheck a month, and I'm like, she's keeping that as her fun money, and I go, hey,
yeah.
I think we got to set some limits on the fun money account because like there's other bills we got.
There's other stuff going on here.
You should put that in.
We could be making some progress.
I mean, she's like, yeah, I'll just tutor students and that'll be my fun money.
Yeah.
You're not going to Europe on your fun money. What the heck? Like,
you don't have enough of that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm in a weird conundrum where I go, do I set as the head of the household?
As the head of the household.
As the spiritual leader of the home.
You have to take the lead. I saw a guy
as the king in this domain.
I saw
Alex. Your wife runs the money. Never mind.
You just assume that?
I just know it by his old aura.
Does she?
Does it run the money? Sorry, you
can't say her name. Bleep that.
You can bleep her name. No, you can say her name. You just can't say it 3 times.
That's right.
We love insinuating that Alex is married to Beetlejuice. Alex is married to Beetlejuice. Put that on the record. This is so far off the rails.
So in 90,
who runs the money in your? Do you guys just do a joint effort? It seems like you guys don't argue about anything, and maybe don't talk about anything. To be honest.
I mean, realistically, more similar to where Tim's at.
Okay, you guys just have your own separate things.
Yeah.
You have a pool. Okay.
Yeah. Which I don't recommend. because what we did, like, we've split all the bills, but what has happened over time is it's kind of like, this is yours, this is mine. Right. And it's
changing.
Weird. Yeah.
So the thing that cut my financial stress in half was automating our bills.
Yeah.
Like having our direct deposit account where nothing else happens in this account, but the money comes in.
Yeah. And
then I transfer it out. I don't use that card for anything.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then I use chat to go through, like, here's all of my automatic, like, here's all my recurring payments that happen each month.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a set amount. So that's what comes out of the bills account. Anything that changes, I mean, like our gas bill changes, obviously, and our electric changes, but that's kind of small amounts. That's small difference. So I take the highest average of that, and then that's like what I put into my recurring payment. Mm-hmm. So then the bills account is a set amount that comes out each month. So every week, direct deposit comes in. There's a set transaction that transfers certain amount from the direct deposit account into the bills account. That bills account never hits zero now because it goes out, money comes in, the rent is like I automated our rent, our card payments are automatic, all of our credit cards, all of the gambling debts that we owe, all of it's an evergreen podcast network. No, we don't. But I'm saying, like, all that stuff's automated. Yeah. Literally, I never have to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, wait, did I pay rent? Or like, oh shoot, yes, it's the 19th. I got to pay the car payment. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
That literally eliminated half of my financial stress. Mm-hmm. Now the other half is crippling, and we're so exhausted from how much debt we're in. But
it's your own fault because you see scams everywhere.
I mean, like freaking, I just see scams.
Yeah. So in 93 or in 94, things are so bad in Conan O'Brien's show.
Tim, did you get that text from Alex? That Alex just texted us? Alex just texted us and said, my wife told us to speed this up.
My wife says you're moving.
My wife
too
says
slow.
you guys should shut up already. We haven't even got to the meat of the episode.
Got to the real story.
And this is entirely 100%, and I'm not trying to pass the buck here.
It's all Jaron's fault.
This is Tim's fault.
It's all Jaron's fault. Jaron won't stop making ha-has.
Recently, our episodes have been like an hour long, and people have been like, this is way more than usual. I agree.
Yeah, me too. We just can't get through this because this guy won't stop laughing. All right, so I hate that I can't stop. I hate so much that I have so little self-control. Okay, so in 94. So in 1994, they're threatening to get rid of him.
Came out my nose. Words that came out my nose.
Oh my gosh. You all right?
I gotta go blow my nose real quick. That came out my nose. Hey, thanks for listening to Things I Learned Last Night. Just so you know, we got a new merch line coming out for this summer. So you've been working on that summer bod and you want to show off how ripped you are, you can get a small t-shirt from us. Or if you've not been working on that summer bod, why don't you check out our 2X selection? So we do have some really cool designs. I'm actually really proud of them. We got like a honkin' and bonkin' shirt. We've got just regular Things I Learned Last Night. These are, listen, we don't make a ton of money from this show. This is literally to help cover our expenses, which, like microphones and Alex. And so thanks for supporting our show.
They had such a hard time filling seats that they were having their interns fill all the seats in the audience because they had so many empty seats. At Conan's show.
Yeah.
At Conan's Late Show. And they were very, very close to getting rid of him. But steadily, over time, he started to win over a larger audience. And I think what really we watched that year, was they put someone who nobody knew in that spot. And there was a lot of other people out there that people knew. And so people weren't really willing to take a chance on somebody that they didn't know.
What? I didn't even do anything. Are you looking at my crotch?
I was looking at your Celsius, yeah. It's a distraction when you blow it back up.
Will you blur it out?
Yeah, blur that.
You can concentrate.
Don't let me see that. So he slowly gains an audience because he was an unknown guy. It takes time to build up a persona. Sure. And also it took time for him to kind of get the hang of it.
Yeah.
But he starts to build up an audience. And by the mid-90s, he's crushing it. He's got a huge audience, a huge fan base. And he ends up bringing Letterman on the show, and Letterman says a bunch of great things about him, and Conan looks back on that as like a major moment in his career.
Okay.
And so in 2001, some things start to happen. O'Brien is now a huge deal. He's been doing it for, what is this, 7 years? 8 years?
Yeah.
And he's got a big name under his belt. Leno's also, meanwhile, been doing The Tonight Show for years, for just as long. And Leno's contract is coming up to expire. And NBC is looking at the growth and success of Conan, specifically, remember, with the coveted young male audience.
Yeah.
And they say, what if we can push that earlier into a primetime slot where we can have that audience that we really want along with the primetime audience.
Right.
And so they think that was going to be a huge success. But the contract renewal situation is basically they've got 5 years to wait. And so Conan is going to expire in 2001. Leno's isn't going to expire until 2005.
Okay.
Or 2006. And so they say, okay, Conan is getting courted by every network. Every network is wanting to copy this template now.
We have to give him a
So we
spot.
have to give him something.
Yeah.
And so they basically tell Conan, if you stay with us instead of going to TBS, TBS was the one that was the most aggressive at the time. And they say, if you stay with us instead of going to TBS, then we're going to give you the Tonight Show in 5 years. And they didn't tell Leno that. And so then they went back and told Leno that. And Leno was like, I don't know if I like that idea. And he's like, I still want, I want my job. And so
he's like, I wasn't gonna plan on leaving in 5 years.
yeah, he's like, I was still gonna be here. And so there's kind of this internal disagreement, but eventually they come to terms with that. And for some reason, the network went public with this decision. I feel like this is where this became such a bad idea.
Where they were like, hey, in 5 years, Conan's gonna take over.
Yeah. And I don't know why that happened.
That's a bad PR move.
That's a really bad PR move.
Like, just do it.
Yeah.
That's like telling your kids, hey, when you guys graduate, we're getting divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what? Then
just do it now. Like, why are you still...
That doesn't actually save me. The whole idea is for me not to know that until I graduate.
Yeah. I think it was pretty public that people were trying to get Conan. And so I think they basically had to be like, hey,
guys, we've already got him.
Yeah, we gave him an offer. In fact, our offer's really good. He's going to have the Tonight Show in 5 years. I think it was something like that.
Yeah, so Jay Leno was like, I'm a lame duck.
Yeah, Jay Leno's like, I guess I got 5 years left. And so Jay Leno was like, I mean, they did this weird episode where they had both of them on, and they did like hey, yeah, in 5 years,
this looks Photoshopped, by the way.
Why?
Because, look at Jay Leno not looking at Conan, and then look at Conan. This looks Photoshopped as heck. It
could be. I don't know.
It looks Photoshopped. It looks like, because the lighting on Conan is different.
Yeah, this could be interesting. You might be right. Okay, here's another picture where they were on together. Oh, sorry. Here's one. But
that one's real, because look at Jay looking at him.
This was in the 90s, though.
And then Conan's looking at him like he does want to kiss.
He's like, what if we kissed on the Tonight Show?
What if we kissed on the Tonight Show? They filmed this in New York, right?
Yeah. Well, the Tonight Show was Los Angeles. I think Conan's original show was New York.
Tonight Show was Los Angeles?
Yeah. I'm like 90% sure that Jay Leno's Tonight Show was Los Angeles.
Oh.
Fallon's Tonight Show is
New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was Carson?
I don't know where Carson was.
I thought Carson was New
Carson
York.
was Los Angeles.
I'm pretty sure the Tonight Show has always been in New York. Because that's where SNL is. That's where, Conan is Los Angeles. But I think Conan only became Los Angeles when he left NBC, which, spoilers for the rest of this episode, which I guess we'll get to in 3 hours from now.
I think it looks like it was, it's moved. Yeah, so it was originally in New York City at Rockefeller Plaza.
Right.
Carson moved it to California, moved it to Burbank.
Carson did it in Burbank the whole time?
Yeah, Carson did it in Burbank. And I think Leno...
30 years.
Yeah, I think Leno stayed there. I think Fallon moved it back to New York.
I would do it in LA then.
Yeah.
You give it to me, I'll film it in LA. I don't want to live in New York. Too many pores.
So the contract's expiring. They're very public with the fact that they're going to give.
I was gonna make a joke and be like, "You should bleep me saying pores," but then that leaves.
It could be whatever.
That could have been. That could be interpreted.
There's too many whatever. Who knows what that is? It could be anything.
Too many beeps.
Yeah.
Nah, we can't make that.
Too many New Yorkers.
That's crazy. I'm glad my brain stopped that joke.
Yeah, and then you ended up telling it anyways.
I'm not telling that. I was just saying, because here's what happens with the bleep bit.
Yeah.
Is that we bleep it, and then later, I don't remember what we bleeped.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we actually said an inappropriate thing.
That's true. I've seen that happen plenty of times on this
show.
show.
I caught myself.
Yeah. So
anyway,
so they do the whole thing. They do the show. And And they do 5 years. They do this dramatic passing of the torch situation where Leno hands it over to Conan, and he tells him that, and he has a speech where he basically is like, "Hey, I have had this situation where this seat was passed to me, and when it was passed to me, there was drama and it wasn't fun." And he said, "I feel like a lot of relationships were hurt in that have never gotten better." Very clearly talking about him and Letterman,
Right.
and so he's like, "I don't want to do that. I want to pass this on. Like this is never my thing. This is a show that some people get to run for some time. They have their time, and then it passes." Yeah,
right.
was very clear to say all that, and then did this pass off thing, and then they went on with the rest of their 5 years doing their own thing, waiting for the day to come where it transitions over.
Okay,
and that day comes, and then all of a sudden, the vibe gets a little weird. And I shouldn't say all of a sudden. Throughout the whole 5 years, there were moments where things got brought up to Leno, and Leno is basically like, "Yeah, I mean, I got fired." And he's like, "They don't want me back." And he was a little bitter about it.
Yeah.
And he describes it kind of like a breakup. He's like, "I had a really good relationship with a lot of the producers and the people at NBC in the studio."
Now it's kind of like,
and they just kind of threw me to the side because there was this other guy.
Yeah.
And so he definitely seems a little upset. And he says a lot of stuff during these years in that
window,
I guess, hurt,
yes.
Is what you could call it. And then finally, the 5 years comes by, and then they give the show
to Conan.
And so Conan becomes the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. And it
In 2006.
it ends up, the date that it ends up happening, it lags a little bit. And so the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien debuts June 1st, 2009. So it lagged because there was just disputes. They end up saying, "Okay, you can stay, you can," and then so it drags on until 2009. And so Conan gets the show. He finally gets the show. He gets his whole team. He moves his team. I think they moved to Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure he was in New York. He moved his whole team to Los Angeles to film in Los Angeles because that's where Leno was filming at the time.
Yeah.
And so they start doing their show. Leno gets, as a part of that whole dispute, Leno doesn't want to leave. Leno doesn't want to get rid of his show. So they end up giving Leno a new show after the Tonight Show, and it's called the Jay Leno Show. And so that premieres on September 14th, 2009. And it's the same show.
So they just flipped
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so he's now basically the Late Show, but they
Right.
call it the Jay Leno Show. And so he continues hosting it. And this was an interesting thing because at this era, there is now this huge market of late night TV. Like when both of them came in the early 90s, there was really only a couple players. But now there's a huge market. And so you can't pull the same sort of audience that they expected.
Yeah, there's more options.
That they expected, especially early in the contract negotiations. And so I don't know if the contracts were different at this point because they kind of negotiated contracts back in like 2001.
Right.
So 10 years have elapsed because they kind of drug their feet with trying to please both of these guys.
Yeah.
And please their audiences as well. And they couldn't do it. They were too public with all these internal negotiations. They couldn't please everyone.
Sure.
But they were trying really hard to please everyone. And so Conan ends up getting the job, and Conan runs the job for 9 months before the network decides this isn't working. And they take it away from him and they put Leno back in the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And Jay Leno becomes the host of the Tonight Show. And this was a disaster. The entertainment community like crucified Leno for this. They thought
his ego was like, I want the Tonight Show.
I need it back. Yeah. And he, to be fair, he was saying stuff like that a lot because he wanted it.
The entertainment industry was relentless, trying to paint him out to be this guy who was like, I want the Tonight Show back. I'm the host of the Tonight Show. Anyway, here's a video of him saying exactly that. And can you believe the spin? It's the mainstream media that makes these guys look bad, you know?
Yeah.
Not their own words and actions. That's where it is. If you believe the mainstream media, you would think this guy wanted the Tonight Show back.
Yeah.
But if you listen to his words, he's a good guy.
Yeah. So So what happened? Let me back up a little bit. What happened is they basically forced Conan out of it because they couldn't just move them. They couldn't just switch them. They couldn't just switch them. So what they did is they said, okay, what if we put Jay Leno?
About Picklemans in this episode.
What if we put Jay Leno?
Usually we try to make this episode so you can listen to it on your way to work and then listen to the rest of it on your way home. You started that Monday morning. Happy Thursday.
So they said, what if we put Jay Leno back in the Tonight Show time slot?
Yeah.
So it's the Jay Leno show.
Conan back.
And what if we put Conan to 12:05? And that's the Tonight Show. And it's like, but it's the same show. You're just putting them at their different time slots and changing it. And so then there's a fateful day, January 12th, 2010. Very quickly into his tenure as the Tonight Show host, Conan O'Brien
does like 6 months.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien does what he calls the People of Earth speech. It's been dubbed the People of Earth speech.
Yeah.
And he says, for 60 years, The Tonight Show has aired immediately following the late local news. I sincerely believe that delaying The Tonight Show to the next day to accommodate another comedy program will seriously damage what I consider the greatest franchise in the history of broadcasting. The Tonight Show at 12:05 simply is not The Tonight Show. So it has come to this. I cannot express in words how much I enjoy hosting this program and what an enormous personal disappointment it is for me to consider losing it. My staff and I have worked unbelievably hard, and we are very proud of our contribution to the legacy of The Tonight Show, but I cannot participate in what I honestly believe is its destruction. And then he steps out of the show. And that's the end of his tenure with The Tonight Show. And so that's when it gets passed back to Leno to host The Tonight Show. After that, Conan is given a severance. And this severance, there's terms of this deal. A big chunk of it goes personally to him. A bigger chunk goes to his staff because he's got a staff of like 100 and some people. They all relocated for this job, so they get relocation. But it's like a $40 million severance.
Yeah.
And a chunk of that goes to his team. He actually pays a larger chunk of that back to his team because he's like, I don't think you guys are giving them enough as a part of this deal. And so he gives a larger chunk to his team. And the public reaction, it was really interesting. His fans, I'm not exaggerating when I say, well, maybe this is a slight exaggeration, but when they were rioting in the streets, they were like,
I'm not exaggerating when I say, well, they were burning buildings down.
They were protesting this outside of NBC studios.
If Conan O'Brien isn't allowed to do the Tonight Show, I'm going to storm the Capitol. I'm not exaggerating.
Dear Lord,
please catch Osama bin Laden and give Conan O'Brien. Please catch Osama bin Laden. Actually, this is how I would have prayed in 2009 too. Catch Osama bin Laden. Don't let Obama take credit for it. Give Conan O'Brien. It was my prayers concerned Osama, Obama, O'Brien.
And then you became a youth pastor. You're like, here's the 3 O's to prayer.
Here's the 3 ooh. I pray using the ooh method.
So people were hanging these posters. People were hanging these posters around New York and LA, and they were
Coco.
Yeah, and they were protesting this decision, like literally with signs and picketing NBC and NBC studios, both in New York and Los Angeles. And this turned into like his brand. The Coco. Yeah. And so people showed a lot of support for him, and people really heavily were criticizing Leno as a part of this. He played a role. He really did not want to be at the spot he was. He was pretty vocal about the fact that he did not want to be at the spot that he was. And he was vocal with the network about that.
Yeah.
And the network ended up bowing down to it and making the decision. I think that there was more to this decision. I think that
because then how soon after that did TBS pick him up?
I don't know how. Let me see. It was pretty quick. I think there was, a matter of months. Let me see here.
Because then Conan which is what the show was called. It was just called
Yeah.
Conan.
Yeah.
Launches on TBS.
Yep.
Same format.
Yep.
Probably the same studio.
Yep. I don't think it was the same studio.
Oh, it was in Studio City.
It ended up being the same. Like he hired the same. I do know he hired pretty much his whole staff back for that when he got that offer.
Moved them back to Los Angeles again after moving them to Los Angeles, moving them back to New York, moving them back to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. So he signed the deal in April of that year, launched it in November of that year.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
3 months later, he signs the deal. Later that year, he starts filming it. That was 2010.
Yeah.
We saw him in
20
March of 2016.
Yeah.
To a Conan taping.
You actually can see us in that video.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember who the guests were.
Yeah, I could not tell you anything about the episode. What I can tell you is the scene you can see us. There's a dude with ridiculously wide legs, like long legs, it's a bit like they're not like he has big legs and we're making fun of him.
He's like man spreading.
Yeah, they are seats like 6 seats wide. And we're like 2 rows behind him. Yeah. So, I mean, to our patrons, you guys will find it. I'm sure you will.
I remember, it was March of 2016 because Shane Torres was the comedian on there. Guy Fieri bit, right?
Who was?
Shane Torres. He didn't do the Guy Fieri bit on that one. He did the I love hanging out in food courts. And
yeah, we're really narrowing it down.
Yep. So Shane Torres on the Conan episode in March.
It was definitely March 2016, for sure. Because we were there for spring break.
March 9th.
I mean, it's not going to be that hard now. Find it. Anyways, so
the reason I can tell time is because I just go back and I go, which girl had destroyed my life at that point?
We gotta finish this freaking story. Okay, so
oh yeah.
So
we were on spring break. I had already dropped out of college.
Okay, let me finish this story. Jay Leno welcomes Kimmel onto the show from Kimmel's show.
Yeah, look how fat Kimmel
telecommutes to the show.
He wasn't fat. He was he's clearly done Ozempic now.
Yeah. So he welcomes
Kimmel actually stirred the pot.
Yeah, Kimmel in this interview did not play around.
Yeah.
Leno pulls him on.
You screwed
Leno
Conan
is softballing questions to Kimmel. This was very clearly like hey Leno, promote Kimmel's show.
Yeah.
And so Kimmel comes on and Leno is like, hey, like you ever buy anything off TV? Like you ever order anything off the TV? And Kimmel responds, oh, you mean like NBC ordered your show off the TV? And I love it. And then let's see, what else does he say? He asked about he said, listen, Jay, Conan and I have children. All you have to take care of is cars. I mean, we have lives to lead here. You have got like $800 million, for God's sakes. Leave our shows alone. And so he just like tore into him for like 4 minutes. And it's really interesting because this is not a live TV show.
They could have edited it out.
They could have cut it. And it's really interesting. I've seen a lot of interviews with Leno where they asked him about it. And Leno is straight up just been like, he says,
he goes, my feelings were hurt and then I got in one of my 18 cars.
Well,
I have one for each foot. I got my 2 cars and I drove them home.
Well, Leno says 2 things that I think are important here. First, he says, Kimmel said some stuff, but at the end of the day, he's like, I think I made a mistake there, and I think he called it out, and I don't think that there's any reason for me to not own that, which is very interesting. And then he says, also, it was great television. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think.
Oh, he gets it.
I don't think that's the truth. Like I think you're just like, oh, this is good content.
That's what I think all the time, though, about especially like some of these political grifters and stuff. At a certain point, it's kind of like, oh, this gets views. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
This gets views.
Yeah, and so Leno and Conan had beef from that point on.
Maybe that's why we haven't grown as much as we want to, is because we just refuse to do.
Yeah, we're just not doing beefy stuff. Yeah, we need to beef with another show.
The Ninjas of Butterflies guys, I don't think they shower.
I have got good authority that they've never showered before.
They live in Florida. I can smell them from here. Trying to start beef. We know them.
We do know them.
We used to be friends until the thing happened.
I love leaving it until they took our time slot.
Yeah.
So anyways, Leno got his show. A few years later, Leno retires and Jimmy Fallon takes over the show. And that was a good handoff. And Jimmy Fallon has had the show ever since. Conan has had his shows. Conan just
Fallon
won.
also took over that roller coaster at Disney.
What?
The Aerosmith one, isn't it now the Fallon ride? Look up the Aerosmith roller coaster. Isn't it Fallon now? What is the Fallon ride? Is that Universal? Maybe I'm mixing them up. There's a Fallon roller coaster.
Rock
right?
and Roller is closed.
Okay. What's the Fallon roller coaster? Is there a roller coaster? Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah, there is a race through New York starring Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically do his theme song in the ride. It's one of those.
It's at Universal?
Yeah, it's at Universal.
Okay.
It's just like all the Universal rides where it's like, come on, we're gonna kill the dragon. But it's
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon. He's like, come on, we gotta make it to the Tonight Show. It's time to interview our guests.
Yeah.
You did it. Good job. Yikes.
Hugh Grant.
Anyways, and just like any good late night TV show, we also close with a band. Fiddle off.
Jeez, dude, what was the time on that episode? Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you liked it and you want more of it, check out our episode about Uri Geller, who was a, what do you call him?
A psychic.
Psychic, that's right, who claimed forever that this was legitimate and that he actually had psychic powers. And then Carson brought him on, and Carson was like trying to bully him on live TV and be like, no, you don't. And so check that episode out. Or if you want next week's episode, you can we can edit this. Don't. But we could if we wanted to. You can subscribe we can subscribe on Patreon, where next week's episode is available right now. It's a way to get access to our Discord where we hang out, and you get to hang out with a bunch of other TILLN listeners. And then and this is an Evergreen Podcast Network podcast. See you next week.
leave a comment below if you liked this show until Jared messed up the word subscribe.
Sure. That's right.
If that was the moment where you're like, oh, this show actually sucks, I think.
Okay. It's over now. So I'm glad that
I'm glad it's over.
It sucks, but it's over now.
It sucks, but you don't worry. It's over now.